Hello and welcome to UPSC Preparation Simplified. Now this is part 2 of the video that we promised last week. So the first part of the video was about Naga crisis. Now today we are going to talk about a very important issue. The Naga issue has led to the discussion on AFSPA Act. So today we are going to interact with Mr. Mangal sir.
Thank you so much.
Mangal sir is a senior faculty of international relations as well as international security. And today we want to know more about this AFSPA Act. So basically we are aware of the fact that Naga crisis that we normally can see is actually a botched up operation and 13 people lost their lives. So what is this AFSPA Act?
Sir, AFSPA Act is basically, it has been devised by the Parliament of India, and we all are aware that India faces grave internal security situations, especially in some of the states like Jammu and Kashmir and some states in the Northeast India. So in order to secure all these states from the external aggression and the internal disturbances that these states face, the government passed this Armed Force Special Powers Act, and it provides some special powers to the army to take care of the law and order situation in these states.
Now when we talk about the law and order situation, we understand that state is basically the body which should control public order or law and order in that sense. So how come AFSPA dominates or overshadows the role of the state?
So basically, as we all know that law and order is a state subject in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. However, there are certain exceptional circumstances that arise and that requires the central government to intervene. And if you look at the provisions that are provided, the powers that are provided under the AFSPA, they have some special powers that have been provided to army to take care of these situations. And especially, it is implemented in areas that are declared as disturbed areas. Now what happens is that because the central government is the authority and armed forces are provided with special powers, sometimes it is resented by the states. And as you might have seen in the case of Nagaland, when this operation was conducted by the army and 13 civilians lost their life, the CMs of Nagaland and Meghalaya said that the AFSPA law should be repealed itself. So this basically talked about, or this was an issue of federal clash that happens between the authority of the central government plus armed forces being implemented and normal law and order situation which is conducted by the police in normal times. So that is why the CMs of these states had resisted this thing of imposition of AFSPA and the misuse, of course, because in this case a lot of civilians lost their lives. That is why it has become an issue. It has also become a federal issue. You can say that.
Now, when we talk about this AFSPA law, it clearly mentioned it is a law. At the same time, we also know that law and order comes with a state jurisdiction. So there must be some legal mechanism which must have been implemented in order to pass the AFSPA law. So what was that legal mechanism?
Now, normally, as I've already highlighted, law and order is a state subject in the 7th schedule, and that is why state governments are the ones which are responsible for law and order in their states. However, there is an article in Indian Constitution, Article 355, which is associated with the Article 356 also, where the central government wants to check the issues that are happening in the states and if the governments of these states are functioning in accordance with the provisions of the Indian Constitution. So Article 355 specifically provides or mandates the union government that it shall be the duty of the union government to take care of issues that are happening because of internal or external disturbances in the states. So it is the duty of the union government to protect these states. That is why using this provision of Article 355 and this duty that has been imposed on the union government, they have formulated this AFSPA Act. And you might be aware that AFSPA Act was also passed in case of Jammu and Kashmir in 1990s because that is also facing the issue of terrorism, we all know that. Plus Punjab also witnessed insurgency in 1980s. That is why a law was passed in 83 also, and then it was repealed when the insurgency situation was resolved in the case of Punjab.
Now I was going through the news and there was a mention of sections as well. So there are some sections which are actually considered to be controversial. So what are these sections and what is basically being mentioned in those sections which has become the reason for controversy?
Now, these the law provides for various powers, how the AFSPA Act can be declared, and what are the powers that will be provided to the army officers. So there are two contentious sections that have become a cause of concern and they have created a lot of controversy. And this specifically was also asked by UPSC in the year 2015 in its mains examination, where it was alleged by the human rights organizations that there has been violation of the human rights by these Armed Force Special Powers Act that has been provided to the Indian Army. So the section 3 is related to the declaration of any area as disturbed area. In this, the central government is empowered to declare any area as disturbed area. Also, the administrator of a union territory or a governor of a state can declare that any area as a disturbed area. Now what happens is that when the central government declares any area as disturbed area, of course it will be resented by the state governments. So that is one area, that is section 3. Then there is section 4, which provides certain special and extraordinary powers to the army officers. And that is beyond the powers that have been provided to the police in terms of law and order situation handling. So what happens is the army has been provided the power of search and seizure. They can use force even on the mere suspicion. They can search any premises. They can search vehicles that are passing in these areas, and all these can be done only on the basis, even on the basis of a suspicion. That is why the army does not have this responsibility of taking care of what exactly is the ground reality. For example, police, it will first involve itself in search operation, or it will ascertain that the situation is grave, and only then they will use force as a measure of last resort. But that is not the responsibility on the army under the Section 4, and that is why they sometimes end up using force a lot of times. Then what happens is there is also a immunity that has been provided to the army officers under Section 4, where no prosecution can be started against the army officers, and that is one important immunity that has been provided, and that has become a very controversial issue, because even after committing such grave crimes, any prosecution cannot take place, and such prosecution can only take place when the union government provides it. So again, this is an issue which is resented by the state governments.
Okay. Now you have actually painted a very grim picture of AFSPA, to say the least. But there must be some kind of a benefit that the government is looking for as well, because they have passed this law. So what are the benefits of this particular law?
So we have clearly highlighted in the starting of the discussion itself that because in some states in India, the internal security situation is grave. Nagaland and the northeastern states, as we are aware, they are facing the issue of ethnic conflicts. Plus there has been insurgency from cross-border, that is from Myanmar side, where India has a porous border. And this makes it important for the union government to intervene sometimes.
Okay.
And that is why under the Article 355, that is the one important logic for implementation of AFSPA, to protect the states from internal as well as external aggression. So that is one. Second thing is, you see, when the army is being deployed in these areas, so it is an unusual condition. It is an extraordinary situation. That is why the army has been called for in the first place. It is not like a normal law and order problem. That itself says that when there is a grave situation, only AFSPA or the armed forces can handle these situations. That is one logic for the favoring. And if you do not provide army with such special powers, they cannot take care of the law and order situation in these areas. Plus, army is not police, so they are not trained that way. They are there to handle situation, deal with the situation militarily. So that is why these are some of the arguments that are sometimes forwarded for use of AFSPA in these states.
So you very well narrated in that sense. Now, if I try to find a summary of all the problems of AFSPA Act, so can you help our audience to understand what are the problems of these AFSPA Act?
Of course, first is, as we have seen, the Section 3, how the AFSPA is declared. And as the union government has the power of declaring AFSPA, it directly comes into conflict with the federal structure of the Indian Constitution. Second, of course, is these extraordinary powers that have been provided to the army, and army sometimes misuses it, uses brute force even against civilians, because they act sometimes on the basis of suspicion. The third problem is, because army has been provided with such extraordinary powers, it sometimes leads to extrajudicial killings, and they are not. The army does not have the duty of ascertaining if there is any problem, or they do not require any warrant for arresting or executing these orders. So that is how these are sometimes resented, and these are the basic negatives of the AFSPA. You can say the extrajudicial killings, the way in which it is declared, the kind of immunity it provides to the armed forces, and the provision of you can't prosecute an army officer without the sanction of the central government. These are some of the contentious issues.
Now, whenever we look into any kind of law, we know that constitutional validity or judicial validity of these laws is actually very important, and that is why we have a very potent judiciary. So if any kind of a step or initiative was taken by judiciary to understand this entire situation and give some kind of interpretation?
So this question came in front of Supreme Court for the first time in 1998. And in 1998, Supreme Court came up with a verdict related to AFSPA, and it upheld the constitutional validity of the AFSPA. However, it provided for certain checks. Now, first check that was provided by the Supreme Court was that the time limit for the imposition of AFSPA was provided for the first time, because the initial law that was passed by the Parliament did not provide for any time period. So Supreme Court provided a guideline that every 6 months the application of AFSPA should be reviewed. So that was one check and balance that the Supreme Court implemented. Then regarding the army officers, the Supreme Court said that they should use minimal force for effective action. That was one instruction that was given by the Supreme Court, although nothing very concrete in terms of how this will be implemented on ground. Then also they provided for a guideline that the army officers which are deployed on ground need to follow the do's and don'ts that have been provided by the army headquarters, because they are responsible to them, or they are under the control of the army headquarters. So these are few checks that were provided by the Supreme Court, although the Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity.
Now you have used a term called as extrajudicial killing, and this is something which is a very unfortunate scenario in this democracy that we live in. So any kind of a committee recommendation for extrajudicial killing as well?
Extrajudicial killings, as I've already highlighted, because of the extraordinary powers that have been provided to the army. Sometimes the army, as we all know, this is also human beings are only there and they are known to commit mistakes at times. And this is one of the biggest contentious issues which has been raised by human rights organizations. And we all are aware, in case of Manipur, Iram Sharmila was the one who was staunchly against
the Iron Lady.
Iron Lady, yes, against the AFSPA Act's imposition. So in this case, you see in 2016, in the case of Manipur, because of the extrajudicial killings, the Supreme Court had created a committee that was known as Santosh Hegde Committee.
Okay.
And Santosh Hegde Committee was the one which talked about extrajudicial killings. And it for the first time said that if an army officer has to be prosecuted in the case of extrajudicial killing, some sort of time limit should be created for providing sanction by the Union government.
Okay.
So because we know that sanctions are required for prosecution of the army officers in case of any misuse of powers in the AFSPA Act. So that is why it talked that there should be 3 months review period, or 3 months should be the time limit in which the central government should take the decision if the army officer has to be prosecuted or not. So that was one thing that of course, the Santosh Hegde Committee said. Also, it talked about the time limit, that is every 6 months, the law and the application should be reviewed. So that was also one of the, suggestion of the Santosh Hegde Committee or recommendation of the committee.
There was some committee which also actually suggested the repeal of AFSPA as well. So what was that?
Yes, that is one contentious issue that everybody, and we recently were seeing the CMs of Nagaland and Meghalaya, they have talked about the repealing of the AFSPA Act. So in this line, in 2004, there was BP Jeevan Reddy Committee and our Administrative Reforms Commission, which we all study for the second paper in the General Studies. So ARC had also recommended the repealing of the AFSPA Act.
Okay.
Now AFSPA Act has been controversial because it has created resentment among the people of the states as well. And we are here looking at nation integration. And sometimes it is seen by these committees, plus on the ground itself, you see, it has led to the alienation. And even after the imposition of AFSPA for 60 to 70 years, the problem has not been solved, which clearly highlights about the issues in the law itself. That is why the BP Jeevan Reddy Committee and the Second Administrative Reforms Commission talked about the repeal of the AFSPA Act. However, they did not ignore the issue of security. And that is why they said that the power of the police and various agencies should be clearly defined in the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, that is the UAP Act, which is also responsible for security. So in that you clarify that, and because AFSPA has become such a stigma in these states, and it has become a political issue in these states, so the alienation of these people can be stopped if AFSPA is repealed. So that was one recommendation of ARC plus the BP Jeevan Reddy Committee.
So now you must have got the complete grasp of the concept of AFSPA Act. What are its various provisions that are controversial? What are the benefits and what are the problems? Apart from that, what is the constitutional validity? What is the interpretation of code? Apart from that, what are the committees saying about this particular act? Now, in line with first session, that was Dara crisis, this is the session we have done with Mangal sir. Thank you, Mangal sir, for your participation, for bringing so much of news, information, knowledge for the perspective of the UPSC examination. And I hope that this is going to benefit you more than what you ever imagined. The entire team of Rahul IAS will wish you all the very best. Stay tuned for more.